What's going on, podcasters and YouTubers? This is Hav here, one of your hosts from the Real Fan Review. Today with me, we got my boy, your boy, Sanj.
Good evening, everybody. As always, it's a pleasure to be with you.
With us tonight, we got the man who answers the questions, who looks things up for us, who sets up the videos, our man in the chair, Al.
How's it going, everybody?
We got my brother, your brother, B.
What's up, everybody?
Do I sell you guys? You know what I'm saying? Like, I sell you.
I know, right? I'm like, nah. I want to listen to me too.
What's up, everybody out in the movie-loving world? It is us, the Real Fan Review. We thank you for coming back and watching and listening to us on your podcast app or on YouTube. And today, ladies and gentlemen, we will be talking about that Ghostbusters Afterlife trailer, that King Richard trailer that looked amazing also. We're going to talk about James Gunn's comments about comic book movies and if he's right or wrong. We'll see what our opinions are. We're going to talk about Scarlett Johansson's fight there with Disney regarding this, Disney Plus, Premiere Plus access, same day access online that's kind of ruining her paycheck. And we give you guys a little Suicide Squad prep. If we have enough time, we'll talk about some of the movies we've been watching. But let's get right into the news first. Let's talk about those trailers that came out because those are the things that make us look forward to the movies. Ghostbuster Afterlife came out. The trailer was this week that just came out, and it was absolutely great to see like these old sounds. It wasn't old friends that we saw. I mean, there was hits. Even the way the proton pack powered up. Mm-hmm. Oh, dude, it just feels good to hear those sounds. So, I mean, Al, when you saw the trailer, what stood out to you? What did you like most from that Ghostbusters Afterlife trailer?
Just the fact that they modernized it, but like you said, with those sounds, they didn't try to change the sounds. They kept what was, I mean, for lack of the actors, the heart of the movie, which was the equipment, the oh crap, what's this? The station wagon that got converted and everything. So, just having the heart of it back, and then that little tease at the end as to who answered the phone, has me hoping that we'll see a little bit more surprises in the movie. But yeah, it was just having that heart, like it felt like they tried to stay true. Unlike the last remake when they, changed it and made it an all-female cast. Like even though the heart was there, I don't feel like the spirit of the movie was still there. And, I think they tried to change it too much in certain ways. But this one definitely, feels like they're just moving the story to modern times. Obviously, now with the next generation and so forth. But what I found out, and I don't know if you were trying to lead me to hear, was the comment I made as I was watching the trailer. There's a scene where they show them going through the town, and to me, I got the same vibes as the town that was in the drive-through scene in A Quiet Place 2. When they go down that main road of the street. Now, I don't know if it's just maybe a set lot, a set scene, and that's how the lot looks, and it was reused. But I just found it funny that with all these movies trying to be in the same universe, I was like, what if Afterlife is taking place in the same universe as Quiet Place 2?
Al's trying to make a spectacular movie.
He's world building right now. World building.
Yeah, world building. I mean, Sanj, man, you got a chance to watch the trailer as well. I mean, what was your thoughts seeing and hearing everything that you saw on the trailer?
Ghostbusters is one of my favorite franchises and movies, just all time. So to hear the familiar sounds, like really, I compare it to when they brought Transformers back. And we got Optimus Prime on the screen for the first time, and then when he transformed, and the fact that it was Peter Cullen doing the voice, it hit the same way as that. That's the only way I can explain it. That's how it hit, for me. So I've been excited about the Ghostbusters movie for a long time because piggybacking on what Al was saying, because it's a continuation in that same universe with family members or descendants of the same characters that we know and love, as opposed to the other Ghostbusters movie with the all-female cast that they paid homage to the original Ghostbusters, but it was something different. With that one, I said they could have easily, if they wanted to do an all-female cast, that's fine. but they could have easily done it where all the characters were the daughters of the original Ghostbusters. That would have been really easy to do that, to make it be in the same world, in the same universe, and then you could have done a lot more with the story. But here at the end there, where we get Dan Aykroyd, it appears to be Dan Aykroyd.
Yeah, it sounds like him for sure.
Or playing Ray Stantz, right? Yeah, he's playing Ray Stantz, picking up the phone. So then, are we gonna get Peter Venkman? Are we gonna get Winston Zeddemore too? I'm like, it leaves it open for all these possibilities, right? So I am thoroughly excited for the Ghostbusters movie.
Yeah, absolutely. And Brandon, I mean, from the trailer, it seems like we're going to get either Egon's granddaughter, or we're going to see some kind of story detailing them finding this home or getting access to this home, and it's a home that he bought somewhere, either down south. I think it was that he found the home, or was it upstate? I think it was probably down south somewhere. But yeah, right. But I mean, either way, it looks like all these gadgets and stuff is hidden, but there's this secret going on in the city. I mean, what'd you get? What's the feel that you got from the trailer there?
It was cool, and we talked about this last week. We talked about Snake Eyes, and I said, if you're gonna try and sell us on nostalgia, you have to do it right. And I think this trailer, sold it, and it sold the story that we're getting. You guys said it. It's when we think about the remake, with the remake that happened maybe a couple years ago, they were trying to sell us on nostalgia, but the story didn't hit, the writing didn't hit. It could have been something great. Just like Sanj said, it could have been the daughters. It was the easiest thing to do, is make them the daughters. It's relevant. It brings back some elements of it, and it just didn't hit the same way. So here you have, like you guys said, the sound effects that you get the references to the old characters, even just the mentioning of Egon, and this could potentially be his granddaughter, and her look alone looks like Egon. So
yeah.
it kind of said it right there. But the fact that we get a continuation of our Ghostbusters story, it's not just the Ghostbusters ended and now here's the new movie based on Descendants, but it's the continuation of their story, because Egon was onto something in this town, and now it's up to his descendants to figure out what it is and potentially solve the problem. So it's cool, because you get your old Ghostbusters again, whether you see them or not, but you get their story continued. It's not the end of it, and now it's the kids, but here's the problem that left off with these guys, and now this new generation has to fix it. So it was cool.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
Yeah, because it kind of felt like the Ghostbusters that we got with Kristen Wiig, and the rest, that it was almost like its own separate universe. Right? They had the firehouse, but it was different. They had the car, but it was different. It was trying to update and modernize it, but it just for some reason for me it didn't work. I thought some of it was
Wish.
Yeah, the Wish version.
Yeah, I was just about to say the Wish version.
That's funny, Sarge.
I said the same thing. It was a great movie. In terms of it was fun to watch, but it was just missing beats here and there. There was just elements that you didn't need to see, things they did just to be campy, things they did to try and be nostalgic, and it just didn't hit its mark along the way for the whole movie.
Yeah, they lost me with the Broadway show dance at the end. Yeah. Sanj, but one of the complaints that I'm hearing online about the, people who love movies like we do, is that the trailer looked a little too serious. There wasn't enough funniness. They kept saying, Ghostbusters originally was a comedy with sci-fi elements and horror elements. What's your take on that, man?
I understand it. I don't. Again, everybody's entitled to their opinion. I don't have a problem with it being a little bit more serious than the original Ghostbusters, because when you try certain things is like lightning in a bottle, or you can't recapture it. So anything that they try to do to be like it would, to me, be forcing it. So you have to do your own thing in your own time. And we've seen other series, other franchises where they try to do the same thing over and over. We're not going to mention, who I'm talking about. I think y'all know. And it just doesn't work. Whereas you have other franchises where they have the same characters, it's set in the same universe, but from movie to movie, there's a real different feel. There's a real difference to the story, and some installments are serious, some installments are lighter. So you want that variation. I like the variety, right?
Yeah.
So I don't mind it being a little bit more serious, but I do understand why some people might have some, qualms about it being a little bit more serious and whatnot. But I don't think it can be a bad thing, because they're taking something that is sci-fi based, that is horror based as well,
Right.
and just giving us a little more of the sci-fi and the horror, element of it, while giving us the nostalgia as well, because we're gonna get those feels off the nostalgia, right?
Gotcha.
I mean, to talk about, use Transformers as an example again, it was a lot more violent. The movies were a lot more violent and adult in nature than the cartoons we grew up with and loved. But we've grown into adults, and when we were watching Ghostbusters and stuff like that, we were kids. We're not kids anymore.
Yeah.
So it's something that has evolved for us the way we've evolved.
Yeah. You mentioned Transformers and evolving, and I'm like, I can't believe Devastator has balls. So like I can't get over that they did that with my Devastator in Transformers. I digress. Al, how about you, brother? I mean, with the internet community saying that it looks a little too serious, do you feel that way?
No, not at all. Like they gotta forget. Sometimes I think people forget the time that the original movie was made. Like that was the style of comedy at that time. To tell this story now, you have to tell it in the style that is relevant now. Not everybody. If you're going to try to get us in with nostalgia, you're doing that. If you're going to bring the younger generation that maybe has no ties to the original Ghostbusters and want to bring them in, you have to bring them in with the style that they're used to now. So I like that they've modernized the story. They've brought the story up to modern times using, like you guys said, the descendants, the grandchildren, the children, and doing it in a way that's relevant today for the new people that don't have any connections to Ghostbusters, but can still do it in a way that brings us in with the memories. So I have no problem with them doing it this way.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, I think also people have to remember the order of how trailers come out as well. There's this thing called the teaser trailer, which I believe is what we just got, is a teaser to kind of just show us little things about Ghostbusters, give us some familiar sounds and familiar looks. And then we get the story trailer where we learn what the true story is about, a little bit of the stuff that we haven't seen with some of the stuff from the teaser trailer, to not blow up too much of stuff in our face, even though trailers have been known to show us too much. But hopefully the next trailer will be a little bit more with the funny stuff and maybe some other stuff about what's going on in the true story. The last thing I'll ask on this trailer for Brandon there is I don't know if you saw like I saw, there's a lot of hints to different ghosts and different spiritual beings out there. And the one that I kind of thought reference to was Goza. I don't know if you remember Goza from the first one. But I saw the dogs, the keymaster, and I forgot what the gatekeeper and the keymaster was. It
the gatekeeper and the keymaster. Yeah.
So I definitely saw one of them. I'm not sure which one was there, but one was definitely crawling around the streets. And then there's a scene of something coming up out of the ground, and it had like spiky hair. Did you see that, Brandon?
I didn't really see it, but when I saw something come out of the ground, my initial thought was Vigo.
Vigo? No, please not Vigo.
I am Vigo.
Scarlett of Moldavia.
The talking painting. I love it.
I was like, it felt to me like what they were doing was, I mean, I don't know if you guys, I don't know when this cartoon came out, but they made a Ghostbusters cartoon in like the early 90s. And I remember watching because it was all about Slimer and everything like that. But a lot of the ghosts, and I just don't remember it well, but it seemed like a lot of the ghosts from that cartoon had shown up in this trailer a little bit. So it kind of seems to me like they're building on the past. I mean, the Stay Puft, was in there as a tiny marshmallow. So I feel like what they're gonna do is I think they're gonna have a little bit of everything with maybe a new villain that hasn't been around. But I feel like they're going to bring in some elements from the cartoon. I mean, we saw a little bit of what looked like Slimer in the trailer.
Yeah, I thought so too.
Then we saw the Stay Puft, so I feel like there's going to be some nods to like a Vigo, and then there's something new that's bringing all these old ghosts back, kind of a thing.
Well, actually, what I was thinking when you said that, Brandon, sorry to interrupt, but
no.
What if the story is not that something's happening in the town, but what if the container is falling apart and all the ghosts are coming out?
That's what I thought. That's what I thought. I thought that somehow Egon moved the containment system or whatever to this town or whatever, just because he needed someplace safe to keep it that was off the grid, that he could, whatever. And I think that's what I thought when I saw that.
It was like they were coming out of a hole, so it looked buried.
Yeah, so
it looked just like when it happened in New York City when they shut down the containment field, and how everything started just coming up out of the ground. Like it reminded me exactly of that.
And it was nuclear, right? Everything they use is nuclear. So
yeah.
It degrades. Come on, science. Talk about how the nuclear reactor degrades.
Half-life and everything.
Whoa.
Since you asked.
Oh man. And listen, besides that Ghostbuster Afterlife trailer, that next day or the same day actually, I think, was the King Richard trailer, starring Will Smith, which is the story of Serena Williams and Venus Williams' father, who helped guide their career to where they are today, as far as, teaching them the work and getting them training. And just, I don't know about you guys, but the trailer looked incredible to me. I think Will Smith, as always, takes on the personality that he's trying to, impersonate there in the movie. And I'm interested in watching it. HBO Max or not, I'm watching it. Sanj, how about yourself, man? King Richard.
So I have, it looks like it's going to be a great movie and an incredibly well done movie, documenting, Serena and Venus Williams' relationship with their father in their early years and their rise to prominence. And it's going to tackle a lot of issues that, that I care about as far as social justice, things like that. So a lot of that is going to be in the movie. So that's the positive. There's some really negative stuff, like very toxic parenting stuff that I see in it that maybe we don't go into until we actually see the movie and whatnot. Right. But either way, I'm excited to see that movie as well. But if it's available on HBO Max, I'll probably just see it on HBO Max.
Absolutely. Brandon, how about yourself, man? King Richard, what do you think of the trailer there?
You had me on the trailer until I saw it was on HBO Max. So the trailer, honestly, I'm a big fan of Will Smith. And like you said, I think he really embodies the character he's going for every time he tries, every film he has to do some kind of biopic. Yeah. And the trailer looked really well in terms of understanding the relationship between the Williams sisters and their father. My only kind of caveat with it is I wish it was from a different perspective. Like, if this is the movie about the Williams sisters through their father's guidance, I would have preferred it to be about the Williams sisters and then their father. I think they've done a lot on their own in terms of accolades that I think could be better represented than having the movie about their father who led them. And I understand his importance to their story, but I feel like their story themselves is just as important as their father's story for them. So I felt like
gotcha.
I understand what the standpoint they're going from, but I felt like this could have been their movie that involved their relationship with their father, And then I saw it was on HBO Max, and I said, "Oh, I don't know." I said, "I'll see it. I'll see it on HBO Max." But I'm worried because of the standard of film that has hit HBO Max. So while I have high hopes that it's going to be great, I truly hope it is.
Don't you jinx the Suicide Squad, Brandon. Don't you dare jinx it.
I actually hear really good things about it, so I'm hoping that it's right.
All right. Yeah, that's coming on HBO Max too, but we'll talk about that in a few. Yeah. Al, how about yourself, man? The King Richard trailer, man. Looks good, looks crazy, looks intense at certain points, but at the same time, this is their story, I guess.
Yeah, but like Brandon was saying, I want to see how much of their story they incorporate because I mean, as much as being a father of a daughter, I would want to see how they portray that dynamic in terms of, and like what Sandra was touching on, in terms of what they had to navigate, considering the sport that they were playing and the time that they were doing this in and coming up. You didn't have many people that looked like them in the sport. So, I wanted to see, to Brandon's point, I would rather see their perspective of pioneering the sport and changing the way people saw what a tennis player looked like, especially what a female tennis player looked like. So I would rather have seen more of that story. So I'm hoping we're seeing more of Will Smith because he's the draw, but the movie itself will be a balance of him and them and what they went through. So I'm hoping it's more of a balance, but he's dominating the previews now to get everybody interested. That's what at least I'm hoping.
Yeah, I mean, listen, like you guys said, I think one of the things that I really want to see is what he did and how he did it, how he raised his children. Is it quote unquote too much? Or, does it go into neglect in a certain way? But at the same time, I'm interested in seeing what kind of created these amazing athletes. You know what I mean? What does it take to become what they became, which are basically the number one tennis players for the last, 20 years of our lives now?
Yeah.
It's insane. So I want to definitely see all of that. And of course, see a good movie, maybe not a autobiography, but something as close to it as possible. So I'm definitely interested in something like that. So as these movies come out or we get closer to these movies, we'll definitely talk about any trailers that pop up on them, or if when the movie just comes out on their own, we'll definitely try to review those same weeks that those come out. So guys, if you like the Afterlife trailer, if you like the King Richard trailer, let us know down below in the comment section or email us at therealfanreview@gmail.com, REEL, just to let us know your thoughts on those two trailers. Now we're going to talk about some other stuff just to get you guys' opinions on things. There's been a couple of things going on in the news, so it's kind of like newsworthy as well. And one of the things that's going on big is Scarlett Johansson, our Black Widow from the MCU, has been actually going through a couple of things with Disney in the background. I have to say, I commend her on how she handled it, because she did a lot of promoting for the Black Widow. She was out there in the red carpet, all that stuff, doing all these things. And meanwhile, she's trying to sue them because she feels like she's not being done properly with this whole releasing the movie on HBO Max. Not HBO Max, I'm sorry, Disney Plus, at the same time that it's in theaters, cutting her paycheck from what she's supposed to get from the theaters. So Al, really quick, man, what's your thoughts on, Scarlett Johansson's battle here with Disney Plus or with Disney itself on, something that's basically happened with a lot of movies, this, sending the movies out online at the same time that they're putting it out in theaters. Are they spiting themselves, or what's your thoughts?
Well, there's two sides here, and I see both sides. And sadly, there's a simple solution here. Basically, from what I understand now, I don't think they've released the actual contract, but from all sources that I'm hearing on the story, she had a contract that stated that this was to be a theatrical release only. And apparently, even before its release, they addressed that again and confirmed this is going only to theater, correct? And they said, apparently in an email, the reply was, yes, it's going only there. If that were to change, obviously we'll need to touch base with you and readdress some aspects. So Disney knew that the contract was theater only.
Right.
Now, if you're going to make the change because of the times, and their response was completely tone deaf as well. Like, they tried to make it sound like her suing was tone deaf given COVID and everything was going on. But to respond that, oh, you were solely in the right with releasing it online as well because of COVID, but then to include what she got paid as if to say, yo, you're not a victim, you got $20 million for this. Yeah, but she should have gotten more per the contract. And these businessmen like this, like whoever drafted up this response, I'm sure if it was reversed, they would be going legally after every dollar they were entitled to as well.
Absolutely.
And this is a simple solution. If you are going to release it on streaming and you have actors, producers, directors, any talent that had it in their contract that they saw a piece of the revenue, then include for them a piece of the streaming revenue. You charged every household $30 to see this at home. Give them a cut of the $30.
Right.
Then redo all your contracts going forward with your talent to address both either a theater-only release, a theater and streaming, the new world that we're entering, and address it going forward. Don't say that, oh, I can cut out all my talent because of current situations when you have in black and white a contract that says something different.
Yeah, exactly, man. I mean, Saj, you're a business person, so you think of things in a different way than a lot of us do. But what's your thoughts on as far as the contract situation? And like, I guess Disney kind of had a point, like they weren't going to get the amount of money they should have gotten if this was before COVID had hit. You know, this is probably would have been guaranteed $1 billion movie. But because of COVID, the restrictions, and, you know, not a lot of people feeling comfortable going out to theaters still, they released it on Disney Plus for the extra $30. So it seems like they kind of all lost, but, you know, it looks like Scarlett Johansson lost a little bit more.
Yeah. So, you know, based on her contract, if her contract says that the movie will be, you know, a theatrical release only, and it says that clearly, well, then Disney's in the wrong, and she's totally in the right to sue them for some sort of compensation, right? That's one thing. Two, we've been going to the theaters, the four of us, right?
Yeah.
You know, albeit limited. Those theaters aren't packed, even for the big draw movies. The theaters are not. Fast 9, bro. There was less than half the people in the theater, and that would be jam packed for weeks. You know, under normal circumstances. You know that, right? So the reality is, people aren't going to the theaters. Whoever's going to the theaters, that's what you were gonna get, no matter what. Right? No matter if they released it on Disney Plus or whatever, you're getting what you were going to get. It just happens to be unfortunate that we're in this situation now. But I still think she's within her rights to, you know, seek some sort of compensation. Now, from the other side of it, if I was Disney, I would have done exactly what they did, because if she has it in her contract that it's theatrical release only, right? And then they tip her off to, hey, we're going to do this way instead. You know, if they go to her first, then because they're going outside of the contract, she could technically go file an injunction against them because they've informed her that they're going to breach the contract. She could file an injunction against them to stop them from releasing the movie until they reach an agreement as to what her compensation is going to be, and then the movie wouldn't have even been released.
Yeah, right. But so I think that's the thing. They didn't tell her. I don't think they told her.
From Disney's standpoint, I would understand why they didn't tell her, because then she could legally stop the movie from being released while they figure out the details of her getting paid for the Disney Plus side of it, and then it would give her all the leverage because they've already spent the money, right? They've already paid her. They've already spent all the money. And then she could be sitting there saying, well, if you're charging 30, I want 25 out of that 30, right? And she could hold on her negotiating position, right? Because she's already got them in you know, and let's say hypothetically she's got an injunction against them, so they're just sitting there on the movie and they've already spent the money. This way, they're going to have to pay her. In all likelihood, they're going to have to pay her, but now the movie's out. They made their money, right? It weakens her negotiating position, right? Because anything that she gets is more than she got already, and the movie's already out. So there's no onus on them to pay her more. So from Disney's standpoint, I would have probably done exactly what they did, because
but that's where there should be punitive, because that mentality is what I think kills a lot of business issues, is that, oh, don't ask for permission, ask for forgiveness. So if you know you're doing something that technically should be illegal because you had a contract that said you weren't going to do that, and you do it and you go, oh, well, the lawsuit will be cost of doing business, then there should be massive punitive damages included with that, because you intentionally did this. You can't now say, oh, well, we didn't know it was violating the contract. No, you did it on purpose because you had a conversation ahead of time. saying you knew you had to renegotiate.
Yeah, but
So-
also given the extenuating circumstances of COVID, Disney would have a leg to stand on there as well. They're like, listen, we were in extenuating circumstances. We did
No,
what we
they
had
held
to
it
do.
over
We
a
have-
year. You can't say extenuating
No, I
circumstances.
hear you. I hear you. That's how
Yeah.
we're going to view it. But that's what they would come back and say. But you see, now they're in the driver's seat, and if I'm running the business, I want to be in the driver's seat. All right.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but
I'm not saying right or wrong either way. I'm not saying right
Yeah,
or wrong either way.
but
I'm
you,
just saying
you're gonna hurt
how
your.
I view it from both sides. And they're not
Yeah.
trying to have her stay on long term anyway. So
Yeah, but you're
they
gonna
already killed her
damage.
character.
But you're going
So-
to damage your relationship now with all future talent, because now every future talent is going to come in and their lawyers are going to be even more aggressive with these contracts than they needed
Yeah.
to be, because
see that.
you
Yeah, I
already
see
showed
that.
your face. You showed, yeah, we're dirty. Yeah, we're going to do what we want.
We didn't know Disney was, a big corporation that was
Huh?
going to act in its
You
own favor.
you watch how you speak about the
No,
House
no,
of Mouse.
Listen, but
I didn't say anything negative. We didn't know that it's a big corporation that it's going to act in
but
its
then you
own.
put ambiguity
Damn,
in the
Disney.
contract. You put clauses in the contract that would have allowed for stuff like that, and from what I understand, there was no clause.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm like, you know what? If it's a poorly drafted contract and you didn't account for act of God, but then here's the thing: you waited over a year, so you can't now say act of God on the recovery end of it when you held it during the worst part of it.
Hey, we
I
held
also
it
don't.
as
I don't
long as
like
we
how they
could.
try to publicly shame her in
Yeah.
their statement by telling basically us, the public, that she made $20 million. It's to make us go, well, you made $20 million. I don't have $20 million. You
Yeah.
know what? You suck. So I don't like how they try to publicly shame her. Like, that was on their play. I didn't like that.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to ask you, Brandon, is like, now that you see like HBO Max had a similar thing with Dune, with the other couple of movies, even Godzilla versus Kong for a little bit, they were having these fights with the producers, the actors and stuff like that. What's your take on like what is going to happen going forward? Because you kind of do have to take into account that, listen, we're getting a spike now of COVID-19 with this new Delta variant that's going all over the place now, that we may go back into a situation where we're back at day one again, so it's like you almost have to like account for that now. So all these people that are putting their movies out, they may have to think about, hey, we might have to release this online same day also to make our money back, or to get at least as close as possible to what we should have been making. What's your thoughts on that?
I mean, the truth of the matter is that should be in consideration now. And I think by her stepping up and doing this, it has now opened the door for other actors and actresses to fight for their compensation. And I feel like, us as the public, while we don't make millions of dollars, I think because it is their job and they have contracts, that they're in right to reclaim that money of theirs. Especially like I was just reading Gerard Butler just filed his own lawsuit for the Has Fallen series that came out 10 years ago because of the video on demand rights and all that. He never made any money off of those things. So now he's put in his own lawsuit to recoup money from a decade ago. And that's going to be the thing now, is now that we have streaming services, we have all these things. If they're not in the contract and my likeness and my face is being used in all these things, I want to see my profit. Because if during this quarantine process, if everybody had access to see Fast and Furious on Peacock, Netflix, Apple TV, HBO Max, if they had the opportunity to see my movie on all of these resources, all these streaming services, and I'm only getting a cut from what MGM Studios, or I'm sorry, Universal,
yeah,
in their contract with HBO Max, then I'm losing out on potential millions of dollars from these other services that Universal doesn't have my contract in association with. So I can see that this is going to be a thing now that has to be written into contracts, is potential stream value within potential services.
Take your 20 million and shut up, Brandon.
No. But keep in mind, like before streaming services and everything got popular, most of the time, forget about the streaming services. Most of the time, the actors, it's in their contract. They get paid what they agree to take for the movie. It's not that often that actors actually get paid on the revenue
Sales of there
as well. That has to be specific in the contract of it. So even now, with those actors that previously had revenue sharing clauses in their contract. Maybe it was specific as to which revenue, right? It might say in there like a percentage of theater sales, box office sales, right? And if you weren't thinking about, because hey, Netflix has been around for a long time, right? A few of these other ones have been around for a good period of time. And if you weren't thinking to say, hey, I want it in the contract that I get a piece of streaming as well, well then, you missed the boat on that one. So you got to get the next boat,
Yeah.
And that's the reality. That's the reality of business. If I didn't agree to pay you that, I'm not going to pay you that.
Yeah. No, but that's what I'm saying. Now you can't say that you're intentionally circumventing that when that was how you agreed her to accept 20.
Correct.
Because look at what
she might have said. You know what? I want 30 for the movie.
I want 30. I want 50. Right. I want a piece of every toy sale because it has my likeness. You're putting my image on the cover of every toy you sell. Right. I want a piece of it. But she might have said, okay, fine. If you're only giving me, I want more of an upfront. But no, they're taking less upfront because they know they're going to get a cut of the revenue. And, that's where, and I agree with them saying that this was intentional. Because come on, we know that they released it. Because what was it? Up until May, this was theatrical only.
Yeah.
And then it became, oh no, we're going to put it out on both. Why? Because you wanted to boost up Disney Plus.
Somebody at Disney said, you know what? They made an executive decision and rolled the dice on it. Let's see what happens. Somebody rolled the dice and made that decision.
Yeah, but that's where an attorney should have said, wait a minute. And I'm sure an attorney did. We're obligated not to do it anyway. And that's,
and we'll deal with it afterwards.
So
it's straining relationships now because the rumor is that Kevin Feige, he's upset about the whole thing. He's embarrassed and he's upset with Disney.
Yeah.
So now, even though that's a rumor, that's a potential strained relationship, and that's Marvel. And that can potentially affect our movies going forward.
And do you get top talent now coming to you for future movies when they know that you're willing to do this to them for your bottom line? You may not get top talent now.
All right, but let's ask ourselves: do they need top talent?
Yeah.
They didn't build the Marvel universe with top talent. The biggest name they had was Robert Downey Jr. But other than that, everybody else got big off of the Marvel.
No, but then they started pulling in top talent. So you started bringing in. It's like, who now doesn't want to be in a Marvel movie now? You have all these actors saying, hey, if something comes up, let me know. You have supposedly Henry Cavill now is even in talks to join at the MCU. So every actor is going to say, you know what?
Come for them paychecks.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
They'll come for the paychecks.
But if they know you're willing to cut that paycheck the second you have any opportunity, maybe they don't come anymore.
They give it a second thought. Absolutely.
And how long do you keep getting these billion-dollar movies if you don't have A-list talent in them anymore?
Yeah, I think this is a problem for the industry right now. You know what I mean? Because again, it's not just them. HBO Max pulled that on a lot of movies there last year where they were like, wait a minute, we agreed to that? Like,
well, look what they did with Wonder Woman.
We're on HBO Max? Really?
Yeah.
So,
they gave what's her name, Gal Gadot.
They pissed Brandon the fuck off. Look, Brandon's still mad.
I'm still mad.
Yeah, man. It's just crazy, man. So, we'll see how this plays out. I think this lawsuit will determine a lot of things, honestly. I think this is one of the first lawsuit of many, or the one that will let people know where people stand on how they should do their contracts from here on out. So, as litigation goes through, we'll talk about it when it comes up to see what happens. It's just a very interesting story. But, where do you guys lie on these news regarding Scarlett Johansson and Disney? Do you guys, see Disney's point, or do you guys agree with Scarlett Johansson's point? We'd love to know what you guys think. Comment below or email us at TheRealFanReview. Let us know your thought on that. So, next thing we're going to talk about is James Gunn. He has the Suicide Squad, not Suicide Squad Part 2. It's just called the Suicide Squad. It's the Suicide Squad. That's it. Try saying that 3 times fast.
The Suicide Squad.
Wabbit.
The Twain goes on
go down the hole.
The Twain.
You see, you guys can't make mistakes on here, man. So anyway, man, James Gunn.
Like Snagglepuss.
James Gunn, man, has the Suicide Squad coming out. There you go. This week. But he also, he's been when these guys have movies coming out, they start doing interviews to kind of promote the movie, and they ask him about comic book movies, and he kind of had a comment which goes to the famed comment of comic book movies are going to get boring really soon, or people are going to stop seeing them really soon. But he basically stated that he said that they're getting boring, or that the comic book genre itself is a little boring, that people have to kind of change it up to not lose it, but that it'll eventually die out like the Westerns did. And I just wanted to get you guys just a real quick take on that. B, what's your thoughts on James Gunn commenting on comic books when his fame is off of comic books right now?
I would say, we know there's a formula to our Marvel movies. There is a supposed formula to DC movies. I can't tell you that. I can't comment on that. But we know there's a formula to Marvel movies, and we know that they've perfected it. They write their stories based on this formula, and we fall for it and we love it. But we found movies that have diverged from that formula, that have been different. I'm thinking, The Winter Soldier, #1, that it's a superhero movie that is espionage based, that doesn't even feel like it's a superhero movie. It just happened to have Captain America in it. It's movies like that that really keep us on our toes and interested, because it's different. It's not the usual superhero story or take on the movie. So I feel like that, not that superhero movies are going to get boring, but I feel like if they're written the same exact way that, like, I'm thinking Thor and Thor Dark World, the two of those movies are not boring, but they're not great, because they're the simple superhero story of redemption and I'm a superhero. But the movies that have changed up the script, that have done something different, they're the ones we find the most entertaining. Like Guardians isn't a superhero movie. It's like an outcast movie where it's just really funny. And then we're thinking of the Suicide Squad this is a movie of villains, F-list villains. They're not even B-list villains, F-list villains, who the whole story concept is they die if they suck. And like that's the movie. So like, it's when you have a different take on something that you think we find it interesting. So I think he's right in that parallel where if we don't change some formulas and we change the way we have these movies, we're going to have this simple way of having a superhero movie that might become boring in the long run.
Gotcha, man. Yeah, I mean, Al, when he talks about Westerns, I always think about Westerns being the typical same look, right? You're going to get the town. You're not going to get the Western in the city, right? So it's always going to be like some town with dust and, those that hay that rolls through the wind. You're going to get somebody who does this, the two guns. So it's like, it's a typical type of movie. Yeah, you can make it different, a little bit. You can make a horror movie out of a Western, I guess. You know what I mean? But do you feel that it's going down that path where we're going to get tired of it soon?
Well, as of right now, no. Because, I mean, you say an MCU character's got a movie, I'm interested already, and I haven't even seen the trailer. Yeah. But coming from the mindset of a creative, I mean, you're talking about a director who, has... And I didn't take at first read of his comment, I didn't take it the way as an insult, the way Scorsese originally came out.
Yeah.
Because he's not saying they are boring. He's saying, if we don't, like, in essence, spice this up, they're going to get boring. And to his point, nobody makes Westerns anymore. They were great, they were the thing for the longest time. And, everybody knew how to make a Western, and they made a lot of good Western movies, but they don't make it anymore. So I understand where he was coming from and what he was trying to say. So I don't think he was trying to insult comic book movies.
Yeah.
I just don't think your promo interview for your comic book movie was where to make this comment.
Yes.
Same agreed. Fair to have that opinion, but not when you're promoting your comic book movie that you just made.
Absolutely. And Sanj, when I think about this thing about, comic book movies, it brings me back to Uniondale and listening to hip hop and rap and always hearing rap is a fad. Rap will die out like was it house? No, not house music. What did they call it?
G's and Underoos or whatever it was. Wait.
No, like the Spanish house music. I forgot what it was called
What
before,
was the
man.
line that said?
Freestyle music.
Okay.
People
So-
still listen to freestyle.
Yeah, but nobody's
That-
making new ones.
Yeah, true.
Well,
There's
I
no
mean,
freestyle
if
artists.
you're gonna talk about rap did die, because
Oh.
I mean,
Sanj- Right.
that's just I'm putting it out there. Like what they
Yeah.
have on the radio now and what's out there, it's just they come up with a style and then everybody makes us something in that style. So rap and hip hop was never about that. And Jay-Z said this. He said, "Look, what was different about his era was that everybody was rapping, everybody was doing hip hop, but everybody had their own sound. Biggie didn't sound like Jay-Z, didn't sound like Nas, didn't sound like, Busta, didn't sound like anybody else. Everybody else had their own style. And even within hip hop, you had so many different styles. Like, PM Dawn was hip hop, but they were like singing and harmonizing and doing melodies. Even like, Bone Thugs and Harmony, they were rapping, but they were also singing. It's like everybody had their own thing. Like you could not mistake one for the other because everybody was doing their own thing and bringing it to the table. Like, hey, come take a look at me over here. This is what I'm doing. This is how I'm doing it, right?
Yeah,
and then you'd have your collaborations where people like merge their styles and get on a track and whatever. But nowadays, instead, it's all been corporatized to where they come out with a style like the mumble rap now that they do or the whatever,
The
and then
16-note rap. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
right, like
straightening.
right, and then everybody does it, even all the way up to your Beyoncés and Rihannas and people that used to be your vanguard of style and bringing out something fresh. It's just like they're dropping something on the new style. So when they say rap is dead, yeah, rap is dead. But to get back to the movies that we're talking about, James Gunn is not wrong, but he has to qualify his statement. He's talking about DC comic movies because DC makes movies a certain way, which is the old way of making movies. They recycle the same characters over and over and the same stories. Like how many times have we seen Martha Wayne and
Thomas Wayne.
Thomas Wayne die? You know what I'm saying? Like how many times have we seen them die? And how many different actors have we seen die playing those characters? You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Right? So it's like they keep recycling the same story over and over and over again. They just swap out the actors and the special effects get a little bit better. So that's why DC's movies are boring, because there's nothing fresh about them. Marvel, on the other hand, has a much better formula for these movies. See, they have a storyline, and even with the most popular characters, they retire them motherfuckers and say, y'all have had your time. Because they realize there's so much story to pull from. There's so much source material, right? So they let them have their shine, and then they evolve the story to push them away. And then even the way the stories are told, now they're moving into telling the stories in smaller snippets over a longer period of time with all the stuff coming out on streaming, right? With Loki and WandaVision and Falcon and Winter Soldier and all the other series that they have coming up. So Marvel keeps it fresh, and they keep coming at you a different way. And the Westerns, the same thing with the Westerns. They kept shooting the same movie, even recycling the same actors and basically the same story. And even the shots that they would use, the way they shoot the film, nothing. Right. Nothing changes from movie to movie. Whereas, like you said, like a Guardians movie is not the same thing as a Captain America movie. Like you have all these different genres of film that they place our characters into, so we always get something fresh.
Yeah, man, I agree with you guys, man, because when I think of the Marvel movies, there is like this little formula where the good guy at the end succeeds or achieves the goal. But then you also have an Infinity War where it ends like that, or we end off where there's still something that's still lingering in the background that we have to get to in another movie. And, like you guys just said, like Sanj just said about the Disney Plus shows, they've made those things so interesting that we follow them and we are not bored of them. We want more. We want to see the next iteration. What if, and Miss Marvel and a Hawkeye series and stuff like that. So, yeah, I think as long as they keep changing it up the way that they do and keep things fresh. These, like Sanjay said, also they retire the characters. We're not going to see Iron Man for a while if he does come back. Cap is gone also. You know what I mean? And it's interesting to see what they do. So I'm looking forward to the next few years of these comic book movies. And again, how many times can we have this conversation? Is the comic book movie dying? We've been having this conversation for the last 15 years. So it's just give up, guys. It's not happening.
Yeah, I think, in terms of that conversation, and Sanjay, you bring up a really good point about, rap. But I feel like in the same stance, at some point in the next couple of decades, the way our comic book movies are going to change in the same way that, we had that Blade movie 15 years ago. And that Blade movie is highly different than the Blade movie we're probably going to get in the next 2 years. And the same thing like rap, whereas we don't, I especially myself, like I don't connect with the forms of rap that we're getting on the radio now, but younger kids are, kids are still connecting with them and new generations are. So I feel like as these generations keep passing, maybe the movies are going to change in a way where maybe we don't connect with them in the same way that we used to, but a new generation does.
Oh, wow. Brandon getting deep, son.
Actually, they connecting with it because they ain't got nothing else to connect with. I mean, they got to dig deep to find the stuff, the old stuff. So,
Oh man, absolutely, man, amazing, guys. And listen, man, this is the last topic right here that we're going to talk about today, and it's just a quick Suicide Squad prep, real quick, because we're really not sure. I mean, do we know if this is a sequel or is it not?
It's not.
It's not. It's not a prequel or a sequel. It's a brand new Suicide Squad.
But Rick Flag's in it. Harley Quinn's in it. Boomerang Man is in it.
I had to read a lot of reviews of this movie to get the understanding of this.
So
it is these
reviews,
characters, basically that it is the characters, but a brand new take. We're trying it again. That's exactly what it is. This ain't a sequel. It's not a prequel. We're gonna just do this again. Sorry.
Okay, so when Harley Quinn sees Rick Flag, it's gonna be the first time they've met.
Apparently.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, that's very, very interesting. So listen, let's talk about the first Suicide Squad, the first attempt at it, and your thoughts on like how it went and everything there. So Al, go for it, man. What was your first thoughts on the Suicide Squad with Killer Croc?
I wasn't a big fan of the movie. Like, they relied. I felt like they were relying too much on Will Smith's character to carry the movie.
Yeah.
They didn't give you had a good ensemble, but I don't think I didn't feel like they gave them enough of a backstory to get any interest. Like there was not one character there that I was interested. I had a desire to see, okay, make it. Like they all could have bid it at one point in the movie, and I would have been like, oh, okay. Like, like even Will Smith's character, like he could have gone. I don't know. And for it to have been a movie with the talent that it had, I was surprised, Yeah. And then at the end of the movie, they gave too much reliance on the guy that turned. What did he turn into? Like a fire god or something like that?
Yeah, like El Diablo, right? That was
Yeah.
Diablo, yeah.
Like I don't know. There was like Sanjay was saying, they weren't really coming up with a good story. And
Right.
that's going to be their problem going forward. And I guess that's why James Gunn is trying to push this version as not a superhero movie, but a war movie.
like if it sucks, it's not my fault.
Yeah.
It's your fault because you're getting bored.
Yeah. So, but the first one, I mean, like even right now, I'm trying to remember. And other than that guy turning into a god at the end, I really don't know what the movie was about. I don't remember what happened in the movie. And I think I saw the movie twice to try to get a handle on it, and I still don't.
Yeah. Sanj, how about yourself, man? Memories of the first Suicide Squad there, man.
Let's not front. The draw of the first movie was Harley Quinn, right? As eye candy. That's all there was to that movie. Even the drama with Deadshot and Batman had potential, right?
Mhm.
But they didn't develop it. You want to develop it, you got to give Batman a bigger role. in the movie, and maybe have it be Batman that's trying to go up against them or whatnot, and in the end they end up working together. I mean, there's so many different ways that they could go about it, but DC keeps doing this where they just throw stuff together and expect it to work. Like, oh yeah, we threw a drama element in there for like 5 minutes. Why didn't it work? They just don't understand how to develop a story.
Gotcha, man. How about you, B, man? Any memories from the first one?
That it sucked. I mean, like, so, I remember that the whole drama surrounding this was that Batman vs. Superman had tanked, and so DC had changed the direction of this movie it was David Ayer, right? Was the director.
Yeah.
They had changed the direction. They had to do reshoots and cuts and all this, and he wants his own Ayer cut, because
they made it more funnier, I believe.
His movie wasn't shown, and it would have been a hit. It would have been great, and at the same time, where I do believe that there could have been a better movie out there than what we saw. I feel like the elements that we got and a lot of what we did get is reminiscent of the DC that failed. I felt like it was going to be a movie to have the Suicide Squad for the sake of having them, because it's a story they can tell without having to do something else. And it wasn't a movie that I enjoyed because it was hard to follow in terms of, like Al said, having to care about characters that gave you nothing to care about. And then they really wanted you to focus on Harley Quinn, Deadshot, and the Enchantress. But the Enchantress's story was all about Rick Flag. Yeah, it was all about Rick Flag, and you couldn't connect with Rick Flag, so I didn't give a shit when Enchantress was on the screen. So, like, it was just a bust of a movie.
It looked like she was seasoned the whole time movie.
She was seasoned the whole time.
What the hell was that? Anyway, yeah, I mean, listen, the one thing I do remember the movie was like the Joker aspect, the Flash in the beginning with Captain Boomerang, and then also Batman flying in and stopping the car with the Joker. So those were like cool elements of it, but the story itself didn't do good. The one scene that I'll always remember in that movie is the scene where Deadshot, when they went to go get him and to see how he could shoot the guns, and he's like, y'all didn't put live ammunition in this, right? And they're like, whoo! He's like, he lost his mind. He started shooting all the different things, and it was like just insane. I did like Deadshot in that movie, but let's see what happens, man. So let me ask you this, guys, just really quick, a round table there. Brandon, your thoughts on maybe seeing a superhero pop up in this movie?
The way the DC movies are shaping themselves to be, I don't think they know who would even show up in this movie. Like, I just don't feel like they're confident with anybody. Like, I feel like the most confident they are right now, which is weird to say, is Black Adam. Mm-hmm. And that movie hasn't come out yet, So, like, yeah. I don't even think they're confident with Shazam, and that's the one they have an actual sequel for. So I don't think they're confident enough to even put a superhero in this movie. They're going to reference a lot, like, Bloodsport saying how he put Superman in the ICU. And, obviously we have Captain Boomerang again, so they'll probably mention the Flash. But besides mentioning of people, I don't think we're going to see anybody. They're not confident enough.
How about you, Sans? We got Batman and the Flash in the first one. Any chances we see a superhero of some sort?
I mean, there's always a chance, but I don't, like Brandon was saying, I don't know who they would put to make the story work.
Gotcha. How about you, Al, man? Any chances on somebody showing up? You think it's just a straightforward movie?
Yeah, I mean, I was hoping they might put somebody, but as the news came that every contract that they had with all the big superheroes is falling apart. Who are they putting in? Like, who could they put in? Like Brandon and Sanjay said, there's no confidence that anybody's being brought back. So how do you put them in a movie to allude to something you're not sure you're going to do? Yeah,
gotcha.
It's a sad state.
All right, man. And then, fellas, we'll end off the podcast on this last question. We have the option now, right? It's not like Disney Plus where we have to pay an extra $30. It's coming out on HBO Max on Friday, but it's in theaters on Thursday. And unbeknownst to the three of you, I already bought your tickets. So, so what I want to know is, are you denying my A-list recommendation that you should see this movie with us on Thursday, or are you watching it in the theater on Thursday? Sanj.
I would like to hang out with Hav on Thursday. That says more about Hav than it says about the movie. I'm hanging out with Hav on Thursday.
There we
That's
go.
what I'm not necessarily there for the movie. If
All
there
right.
happens to be a movie playing, so be it.
Gotcha.
But
Love it. Love it.
If you hadn't already gotten the A-list, or you were just like, hey guys, let's get together, then I would, if I had to watch it by myself, or I would wait for it. I would just watch it on HBO Max.
All right. Brandon, you have this fear with HBO Max movies. You should watch it in theaters. Are you watching it on the theater Thursday night, or are you waiting for Friday or Saturday to watch it on HBO Max?
So I have to say, because I know it was coming out on HBO Max, I heavily read into these reviews just to even see if it was worth it. I unfortunately am going to be in Colorado this week, so I won't be able to make the movies.
Denied by A-list.
Brandon doesn't want to see this movie in the theater so bad that when he found out that you already got the ticket for Thursday night, he booked a trip to Colorado on the spot.
I was like, I think, to be honest with you, from the reviews and from the trailers, it does look like a fun time. So I think when I do come back, I will check it out in the theaters. But if it's a thunderstorm, I might just watch it on HBO Max.
There you go, man. Al, last one, man. What's up, man? You gonna be it on theater Thursday or HBO Max?
No, I'm gonna check it in the theater only because, like, I had such a bad experience with the first one. If I have a bad experience with this one, I don't want the director to be able to say, "Well, it's because it wasn't enjoyed the way I intended for the viewers to see it." Like, they always try to say that when the movie goes straight to streaming. How I designed this movie to be seen in a theater. Okay, I'm going to see it in a theater. So if I don't like it, it's because your movie sucked.
You're telling me I can't watch it again? I can't watch it on my 50-inch TV? Like, you're telling me
I'm saying. I got a 70-inch TV at home. That's the size of the theater and the same ratio. Like, come on. Like, what?
Very, very humble brag, fellas. 50-inch, 70-inch theaters. Okay.
Whatever. I had the freaking projector, but I gave that to my cousin when he moved to Florida and left me alone.
That's like telling me I can only see this movie in the theater. I can never watch it again. You're telling me I can't watch The Lord of the Rings 70 times on HBO Max right next door?
Okay, don't tell me Lord of the Rings. I just brought that up on HBO Max. I did not realize those extended cuts were 4.5 hours.
Bro, and the real movie's 4 hours itself.
Yeah, I said, oh shoot, they got Lord of the Rings. I started putting it on. I said, how long is this? I packed out, kid. I was like, no.
Yo, I'm not gonna call. Speaking of Lord of the Rings, I'm not gonna call names online. But remember our homeboy when we went to see Lord of the Rings, the first one, and it was like almost 4 hours long, and he's like, "Wait, we gotta wait 6-7 hours more to find out the ending."
Oh my God, crazy, man. And before we leave, man, shout out to Brandon, man. Not all superheroes wear capes. Hooked up that Hulu password, son. Yeah, Brandon.
Probably don't want to,
Yeah,
broadcast
man.
that you're sharing Hulu password.
Who would have thought 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, man? Thank you, Brandon. Thank you, Brandon. No one's listening, Brandon. Don't worry. No worries.
Who would have thought? Password. Capital P.
Oh, man, everybody, listen. Coming out of Long Island, New York, we are The Real Fan Review. Thank you for listening and for watching us today. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that little subscribe button. If you're listening on the podcast, smash that. And if you're listening on the podcast app, hit the little plus symbol or add us to your playlist for your podcast. That way we come up every week for you guys. And we'll get you a review for the Suicide Squad next Sunday or Monday. So be on the lookout for that. We thank you guys. Coming out of Long Island, New York, we got Sanj.
Have a good night, everybody. Be safe.
We got B.
Adios, muchachos.
Our man in the chair, Al.
Have a good night, everybody.
Myself, Hop, again saying thank you. We'll see you guys on the next podcast next week. Until next time.